Hi, I'm John from Just Whiskey, and today it's just news. If you like the news, give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe, and consider becoming a Patreon and all the other good stuff in the description below. And please, please, please check out my new channel called Just Music, and I will have a link for that in the description below as well. And to steal a page out of Jeff from G Whiskey's book, if you stick around to the end, I will tell you what's in my mystery pour, which will be a upcoming video. Hint, there are clues that you can see right now. So just news in no particular order. We're going to start off with, and get out of the way, Ardbeg. So they have an anthology series. So they had release number 1, which was 13 years old, which was called The Harpy's Tale, and that was Ex Sauternes. Then it was edition number 2 was 14 years old, and they called that The Unicorn. And now their 3rd edition, the newest one, is going to be called The Beather's Tale. It's like this giant dragon mythological creature. And so that one's going to retail for about 130 pounds. So you see a coincidence here. So the first one was 13 years, second one was 14 years, the third one was 15 years. I'm assuming that they're going to continue that trend, and maybe the 4th release will be 16 years old, and so on and so on. And then also, too, as a yet another shocker, Ardbeg special release. It's called the DOLCIE, Dulce, and that's going to be ex-bourbon and Marsala matured, coming in at 47.8%. Not sure on the price from that, but probably, I don't know, probably not cheap, but you never know with them. Sometimes they surprise us. Springbank. They have a new Springbank 12, batch 27, came out this year, 2025. It's already out. Comes in at 55.9% ABV, and it's 60% bourbon, 35% sherry, and 5% rum. But take note of that ABV, because 55.9% was a previous batch ABV, which came out in 2021. Springbank 12 released 100% ex-bourbon in 2021. I forget the batch number, but that was 55.9%. So if you're just looking at ABVs, make sure you check the laser code on the back to see what year it is. Although the 100% ex-bourbon from 2021 is noticeably lighter in color. So that should be a giveaway right there. So that sounds like a good one. All right, then there's a bunch that things that Kilchoman are doing. So what they're doing is they have their 20th anniversary. So they've been in operation for over 20 years now. So they're releasing a Kilkerran 18-year-old, all in ex-bourbon, $350, 46% ABV, a total of 1,209 bottles. They're releasing a 15-year-old in ex-sherry casks at $225, and that one comes in at a whopping 52.7% ABV, and there's 3,153 bottles available for that. Then they have a 14-year-old sherry cask, $200, ABV of 55%, a total of 3,145 bottles. Then they also have the Kilkerran 13-year-old ex-bourbon and Calvados casks at 50% ABV, retails for about $120, and that's ex-bourbon and Calvados. Then they have a new release that's going to be in their core, and they're calling it, I'm not going to pronounce this right, but Loch Grenat at 46%, and it's going to be like an entry-level edition, which sounds pretty good. $55. It's going to be 4 to 6 year old 1,800 bottles, and that one's going to be 90% ex-bourbon and 10% sherry. Okay, so that one sounds kind of interesting. And then they also have they released the 10-year version of the Loch Gorm. Okay, so we finally get an age statement with that Loch Gorm. Now going to Arran, which is called Lochranza Distillery, because Arran also owns the Lag Distillery, which is all peated. So Arran is now called the Lochranza Distillery, and what they're doing to celebrate their 30th anniversary is something super cool, in my opinion. What they are doing is offering casks for sale, and they're taking their Arran unpeated Lochranza new make at 63.5%, and they're pouring that into filling first fill Palo Cortado sherry casks, and first come first serve. And the price for each one of these casks, so you're buying a freshly filled cask in first fill Palo Cortado, 7,250 pounds, which equates to about $9,500 US. And that price includes 10 years of insurance and storage. So that sounds like a great idea for the Norfolk Whiskey Group. Are you listening, guys and gals? You have 100 people chip in, but the only thing is we're going to wait like 10 years or more. So it's a long term investment on that, but I think it's super cool. And the prices in today's dollars, that does not sound too unreasonable to me. Okay, then going to India. I have a little tickle in my nose. The Indri Diwali, okay, which I reviewed a sample of several months ago. It's pretty much sold out. It's the 2024 Diwali, which just came out the beginning of this year, and that was 58.5% ABV in Oloroso sherry. Then Wolfburn has a 12-year-old out, so that's the oldest that they've released. They had their 10, now it's their 12, 46% ABV, and it's a combination of ex-bourbon and sherry. Now going back to Tormore Distillery, which I love. They were bought out by the owners of the Whisky Exchange. So I think the Whisky Exchange owners sold all of it or a big portion of their shares, and they're like, hey, what the hell are we going to do with all this money? And their dream, I guess, was to always own a distillery. So they bought Tormore, and they are going to be remarketing that because there really hasn't, that's mostly available for blends and independent bottlings, but there really isn't any core releases. So what they're doing to bring attention to what they're going to be doing is they're releasing what they call the Tormore Legacy Series, which I am really intrigued by. So they're releasing 3 offerings under the Legacy Series. A 2003 vintage, which is all first fill ex-bourbon, and that's going to retail for about 175 pounds, so over $200 US. Then they're going to be releasing a 2009 vintage, again, first fill ex-bourbon. That's going to be 95 pounds, so probably about $115. And then a 2012, which is going to be first and second fill ex-bourbon for 75 pounds, which would be like $105, something like that, probably. So what intrigues me is it's all ex-bourbon, so you'll get to see the history of their DNA distillate being presented. And then they are going to, next year, they're going to release a permanent core range. And I don't know what that's going to be, but I am intrigued. Then Glenmorangie, in their core range, they are adding a 25-year-old in a fancy bottle, a fancy box, and it's going to be 43% ABV. Shame, shame, shame. and that's going to retail for about $675. Then Laphroaig, so the Laphroaig new cartridge, which is the Lore cask strength, came out a couple of months ago, and it's still making its way into various markets. But they've already announced what the next cartridge is going to be. So I don't know if this is going to be a year from now or if it's going to be sooner than that. But the next Laphroaig cartridge is going to be a full maturation in 100% French oak, and that's going to come in at 52.6%. So they're probably going back. So if it's 52.6, that 2.6 probably means 2026. So that's probably going to be in May of 2026, if I'm assuming correctly, which I think I am. Then going to Bruichladdich, the Octomore series. These won't be coming out till probably 2026 as well, but they will be releasing their 17.1, 17.2, and 17.3. The 17.1 will be a 5-year ex-bourbon. 17.2 will be a 5-year ex-bourbon and can't even read my own writing here. Port, bourbon and port, and the 17.3 will be bourbon and Sauternes, all 5 years. And then while we're talking about Octomore, Port Charlotte apparently has, or will have coming out, a 21-year-old rum matured Port Charlotte single cask at 48.7% ABV, a total of 259 bottles. But the label that I saw said bottled in 2022. So I don't know what happened there. If these things have already been released, which I'm not aware of, or, you know, have these been bottled a long time ago and they're just being released now. But that sounds very cool. That's all I have for you. And if you stuck around to the end, the mystery pour, which will be an upcoming review, is staring you right in the face, and it will be the first Rose Isle that Diageo special release, and this one's a 2023, the first Rose Isle, 12-year-old. They had one last year, and there's really not much reviews on that one, but a couple prominent channels really like this a lot, and I was able to pick up one, and I will let you know what I think of it coming soon. So thanks for watching. Check out my new channel, Just Music, and hats off to you all, and take care, folks.